Good morning. Good morning. All set up, ready to roll, I think. Some of this tartar on here. Today's task is going to be touching per drawing. So I did this yesterday. I do need to connect this to that, among other things. But clean that, or especially focusing on the portrait. So I've got my reference up here. And see what we can accomplish this morning, right? One more button to hit. There we go. I appreciate that. Try medium. Alright. We're going to clean up this drawing. Good morning. Let's see, we decided we need to adjust her nose a bit. So big. It's over there. Yeah, so they were going to clean up her drawing a bit. Mouth is good. Excuse me. Looking congested this morning. So the other eyebrows up here. Gotta go way up there. Let's see, I need the reading glasses for this face, huh? Oh, camera's pointing in the direction. There we go. Good morning. Sorry about that. Good morning. Music. All right. Put some green. All right. Let's see. Good morning. Not that outer edge, but yeah, they're just trying to get the portrait more cleaned up on here. If I can get that and some of these other areas cleaned up, that'd be a good goal for this morning's session. Teasing these edges out. I'm going to go back over them on the outside, clean them up a little bit. It's easier to paint the outside edge of that nose rather than trying to paint that shape. Later on, we'll need to add in some of the lighting, excuse me, color. if I'm working this scale too, is you've got to be really careful with the contrast you put in the paint. Let's see. Good morning, good morning. Softened up that edge. Put our neck back down in there so it's a little bit visible, but not too visible, right? So small, right? So it's not much bigger than a quarter. Find it into position. Once I kind of get the drawing in, then it makes it just a little bit easier to manage the overall. It's gonna be too dark. I think use all my yellow. Oof. I know it's just a small area, but it's painting in spaces like this, it's really small, it's pretty intense. Because every little change, let me get some water on there. The problem with mixing acrylics on this paper is I can't just like mix it with a knife. But every little change I make, affects the likeness and the features a lot. So that's where this gets to be a little hard. But it's getting there, I think. Really pushing it in like a half a millimeter at a time once you get everything in place. And later on I'll come back in here if the drawing is still correct. And I can add in some of the lighting effects I want more easily. But hey, Bosch, you gonna come lay down? To get some water? Yeah? You come lay down? Made it all the way out there and back with your blanket on, huh? That's pretty impressive. If I can see the other cheek on the side of her nose. Her eyelashes are good over there. Good morning. I think the forehead still needs to come out just a scotch. 1 scotch and 3 scooches. That I think helps a little bit. And I can bring down the value of these highlights. Part 2 is like learning to kind of paint the form. So being able to see how the form wraps around. My ear, my neck. It's got an itch. And it's funny how we'll make fun of dogs for giving themselves a little scratch or whatever. As soon as we get an itch, we care about that desperately. We're doing here 30 minutes in, clean up this head. That's not too bad, I think. there. Definitely getting there. Oof. Little tiny heads, I gotta stop painting them, right? Just a little bit more. Also sticking to a fairly limited palette here, so that helps to a certain degree with keeping things under control. Pull that sheet back just a little bit. Before I jump into extending that forehead out. Soften, if I can, that edge. Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, if I have to spend the whole 1 hour session on this face, that's fine. Um, paint it off the brush. Good morning. The mouth opening needs to go up right there. Let's see. Probably save this final layer for refinement for later, huh? Maybe the back to front finishes. Good morning. All right, now we go to the arm. Work on that for a little bit. Spray some of this retardant on here. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. If you let me know if there's any questions out there. I don't mind talking while working. I just trying to clean up some of the stuff on here so I can start working toward a more refined completion. Spent a good chunk of time working on the face. feels much better. Probably still needs to be tweaked, but let's move over to the arm. Clean that up. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming in. I was trying to clean up some of this figure stuff, and then I can kind of refine going back from. So I was doing this yesterday, so now it's just a matter of going through and cleaning up. I'm almost done with this sketchbook too. I've just got like a couple more pages, or maybe really just one. That's something I can do the back end of that. And I'll start thinking about kind of what's next. I might try and do stuff more related to my comic project. So, yeah, so that's what we're working on here. Kind of realizing as I'm working on this, I'm probably going to gradually shift to soft body paints, or maybe talk to my department chair today and see if I can't just get the school to budget a bunch of that for me. Especially for the fall class I teach. So just kind of bringing this up, and then I can put the stuff that's behind it in there more easily too. My neck. I think I've got everything more or less set up. There's, I think, maybe some more Gestalt things. I can maybe something over here, kind of pull it around a little bit more. I mean, I've got this. Maybe it's just a matter of getting the edge on there with a little light. Oh, that's right. There's a dog under my feet. Forgot about him. Almost stepped on my dog. So that's what we got going on today. Sorry, Bosch. I didn't quite step on him. I just kind of poked him a little bit. The thing with the heavy body stuff is that I didn't realize was that it's, well, thick. And feel like doing detailed stuff like this would be easier with the soft body stuff. So I had assumed that like the heavy body just meant there was like more pigment in it, but apparently that's not the case at all. Here's what I know. But shows what I know. I'm using kind of this tempera style to paint things in. I've got a bunch of references out in front. I'm using an app called mixREF, which is similar to pureREF. pureREF is a desktop application where you can kind of lay out your references in a very convenient way. On a board, but mixREF is an iPad app that's very similar. It doesn't have all the features I'd like it to have. Like I'd like to be able to label things with text, but mixREF's nice, but the other one's free. The pureREF is free. You can, probably I should probably donate something. I use it all the time, but I'm looking better there. But what is the story behind this painting? Well, there's not really a story. Mostly, the story behind the painting is me learning acrylic painting. But what happened was I used acrylic as a student, 20 plus years ago. When I was in my undergrad program, and I hated it like a lot. Like I did not like using acrylic paint. And then I started using oils and gouache, and I really liked those. And so I didn't basically touch acrylics for 20 years. There was like a class I taught once at a university I was at temporarily, where I had to use it for part of the class, and we used it for a project, and it was fine. But I didn't like it. And then, so I bought a bunch of acrylic paints for that. That was a long time ago, back in 2018. I believe it's been that long. And then I had to use it for a class, and then then I set it aside, left it alone, because I didn't really like it. And then I had to teach it again last semester, use it for this illustration class. We wanted to keep everything all analog media for this class, and they wouldn't let me use oils in the classroom. So I was like, well, I guess we can do acrylic, I guess. I don't like it, but we'll use it. And I did a painting that I was happy with. I was like, oh. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking, well, maybe the problem wasn't the medium. Maybe the problem was that the painter, me, didn't know how to paint and didn't understand painting very well. Color and color mixing and composition, and kind of how to bring all those things together, because it takes a lot of work and experience to be able to do that. So I thought, hey, after that, I said, maybe I should start doing some more acrylic stuff as part of my repertoire. So I started looking at a lot of acrylic painters as part of that class too, and with their techniques. And so really what this is for, I'm just taking some random reference and blending it together. So the girl comes from this, one of those like pose kits you can get. And the image, she's mostly not really wearing anything. But you can't really draw that on most platforms. And then so I can't really draw that nudes on here, just because of the way platforms work, which I think is silly, but I don't get to make that decision. And then so I found an outfit on Pinterest to put her in, and then I found some background stuff. This is from like a modified helicopter parts and a tree coming down. And so I just kind of gave her a general action where she's like reaching up into here to pull something out. Maybe I should put something down here to indicate what that is. And she's being watched by these things in the background. So, just kind of juxtaposing these different elements together as a way of helping me practice. Similar to that little like robot guy. I saw this guy did this set of what do they call those? Little character design projects. I think in Photoshop or whatever. But you take like a little piece of reference and then build like a character out of a robot or a soldier or whatever. I thought that would be interesting to do. So that was what that thing was for. Is that. And then it's similar. This is just more expanding that composition. So I'm trying to explore my illustration skills while also exploring the medium. So I was like, why not make it a full composition? I could just paint the character, which I did that one page. Probably that one page attracted a lot of attention. Particularly that one drawing of the guy I take over. I'm not sure why. I've never had a post pop off quite like that. I think it's coming up on 21,000 likes, over 500,000 views, and that's like well beyond the interaction I normally get. By the way, if you want to help out my account at all for free, do make sure to like things like this live stream or other posts that you see from me. That would help me out a lot to do more things that people are interested in. So I'm going to bring this thing in. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to kind of blend, take these traditional media or these analog media, as I prefer to call them. So acrylic's really not that traditional. It's relatively new. I think it's like a little, maybe 100 years old. And its current form really comes out of the 70s. So it's really not even like, I wouldn't call acrylic a traditional medium. In the sense like oil has a long tradition, or egg tempera. I am using kind of a traditional method here to paint with it, this kind of tempera cross-hatching approach. But which I saw a lot in a guy named James C. Christensen's work. He's a fantasy painter. How long of this particular project? I'm about 6 hours into it by the end of today, which I should probably stop soon. I'll stop a little bit here, but about 6.5 hours into this. So I spent the first 2 hours kind of designing it, laying in what's called the gestalt, so the overall kind of lighting layout. And then so I did that first. And then yesterday, well, the day before yesterday, I was kind of going through and cleaning up things. So I was like cleaning up these ellipses and this arch, some of the drawing here and there, just kind of going through and cleaning up. What I did with the first one is I was just looking for the overall effect, and so I wasn't as focused on like getting the drawing. Well, I wanted the drawing kind of generally there, so I didn't have to move it around a lot. But I was trying to get that overall effect in, and then I came back and was cleaning up the background, the foreground, and trying to really get the stuff to really read properly. It's too light in there for that particular fabric. So I did that for a day, and then yesterday I was mostly working on these mechanical things. And then today I thought I'll work on the portrait especially. I spent most of my time this morning on the portrait. And then so I don't have to fight with that as much later on. I can always tweak colors. I'm going to have like this orange light coming out, so I'll need to add that to her. But once the drawing is kind of there, that makes it a lot easier to do, you know, whatever the lighting choices are going to be. So that's what I've been kind of doing these last few pages in the sketchbook, is playing around with this. I do want to integrate, I don't know that I'll do it in this one. I might, maybe in the background and some other areas. I do want to integrate using my airbrush as part of my acrylic process. And that does involve kind of masking stuff off, which isn't that big of a deal. It just takes some time. So I bought this airbrush, and I mostly got it for splattering ink, because you can kind of set it to a low pressure, and it will splatter instead of spray properly the fine mist. So that's what we've got going on. So I was doing like quick sketches of things before studies, but for me, I thought it would be a good idea to like slow down a little bit, you know, take my time, focus on the quality, not just the quantity. You know, they all have their merits, different phases. But let's see, but I really should stop here in a second. So I've got some things to do today. Get this hair shape in here. Ourselves a ginger here. Yeah, so going back, kind of reevaluating my relationship with this paint. That's really what this painting is about. Maybe it's symbolic of me extracting something from the medium that I didn't know would be there. It's really a more meaningful statement, but I don't know that it's true. Let's see, let me bring this here up. Okay. So just been looking at a lot of stuff and thinking about it. And, yeah, it is recorded on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, well, I mean, the live streams are there, so you can go over there and check them out now. Um, and I have a way of accessing my past live streams on Instagram that lets me download them and then turn them into time lapses. When you go into the archive, you can extract that stuff, and so. So that'll be that's up there now if you want to check that out. So I know it can be a little more challenging on Instagram to kind of organize everything. It's not really built for that. Which is interesting because they are trying to be a competitor with some of these other programs like YouTube. Hold on, it's out the window there, puppy. Yeah, it feels much better on here than I refined that face. It was doesn't mean it can't be made better, but yeah. So I've been working again about 6 or 7 hours on it now, 6.5-ish hours. What time is it anyway? 9 o'clock. There's a bunch of personal things I need to jump into, like I could use a dentist, among other things. Got some car repair problems I got to deal with, which is annoying. A big window crack, so I got to fix that in my car. At least I assume I got to fix that. This won't be cheap. What's this? Yeah. Every painting kind of goes through what's called an ugly phase. And basically, the idea with the ugly phase is you've kind of got things there, and everything's in the picture, but nothing's really been refined. And the ugly phase is the hard part to work past. So ugly phase I consider is like when a picture's about 80% done, and that's where you really have to like push through to complete your picture when you hit that 80%. When you hit that 80% range, that's when you hit that ugly phase. And so that's where the pros come in, and they just like keep working on something until it's all the way what they want. And so working through that is usually the thing that separates the pros from the amateurs. The amateurs are like, well, it's good enough. And really, it's just barely getting started. Whereas like the pro comes in and they've got like a vision that they're executing on. And so that doesn't necessarily mean it's like the same kind of finish, but that 80% phase is usually where it's like where you really gotta push things. And that can be a real challenge because if you haven't finished very many things, it can take a lot of time and practice and repetitions to actually bring things to that level of completion. And so if you haven't done it too many times, it's hard to know how it's going to turn out, which can be scary and frustrating at the same time. Late night, huh? Must be on the other side of the planet from me. It's first thing in the morning here, so. Yeah, but I need to stop anyway. Just throw a little extra drawing stuff on here real quick. I'm not even using up my expensive colors. Just by clarifying these edges here, this will be a lot easier to read, which makes a big difference. a big difference in how it reads. Alright, where's that yet? Alright, that feels much better. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Appreciate everybody that came in. And we'll talk to you all later.